Aliens Explored is a podcast exploring famous and obscure cases of UFO sightings, alien abductions and other strange events from both a believing and a sceptical perspective whilst keeping an open mind. I'm Stu Jackson, a professional actor and amateur ufologist with a particular interest in the crop circle phenomenon. I'll be debating that otherworldly visitations are real. The truth is out there.
And I'm Neil Kelly. I'm a professional actor as well and used to work for the military as an intelligence analyst. I'll be arguing from a more doubtful point of view. I mean, it's all a bit far-fetched, isn't it? In 2014, scientists first heard a unique alien-like sound coming from the depths of the Mariana Trench in the Pacific Ocean. Some have said that the complex structure of these sounds, their frequencies and a distinct metallic edge reminded them of Star Wars sound effects. Could these sounds be emanating from extraterrestrial bases hidden deep beneath our oceans, or do they just speak to another aspect of how little we actually know about deep sea life on our planet? Join us on Aliens Explored as we delve into the mysteries of the strange sounds coming from the Mariana Trench.
Welcome, listeners, to Aliens Explored, your weekly podcast where we discuss otherworldly things. I lost it then. Yeah,
lost your thread in one sentence. Yeah, otherworldly.
I was doing so well.
What are we going to call this
point.
stuff anyway?
And I am one of your hosts, Stu Jackson,
and I'm your other host, Neil Kelly.
And
hello.
Hello indeed. Have you been keeping, Neil?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
Been a little while. I mean, we talk to each other quite a lot because we do two podcasts, don't we?
We do, yeah.
And Tales from the 20 side, the actual play,
which
Pathfinder role-playing game.
Yeah, which I had to cry off of on Monday. Sorry about that. I hope we can reschedule soon.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We'll get that sorted. But I know you've been working quite a bit lately.
I have a job which is a morning's job, so it means I have to get up at 6 o'clock every morning to get there. But I'm usually home before midday, so every day. So
I hate any day that has two 6 o'clocks in it. I think that's obscene and unnatural.
Or two 7 o'clocks, or two 9 o'clocks, or
10
o'clocks.
Two of anything really is not good.
You're not quite a 12-hour man.
Indeed.
It's a state of mind, isn't it? It's just, you just have to think of it as it's just a time. It's not early or late. It's just, have you had enough sleep?
Yeah, it's quite arbitrary where we say, But I think a lot of it's to do with sort of sunrise and sunset, but. Yeah.
It is to do with that. I also find it's harder for me to go to bed early than to get up early. I think, I should really go to bed because I've got to be up at 5 o'clock in the morning. So, but it's only 9 o'clock. I'm not going to bed at 9 o'clock, even though that is the only way I'll get my 8 hours sleep.
Oh, I have this horrible thing where if I go to bed and I'll be there like 7, 8 o'clock in an evening, absolutely shattered sometimes, falling asleep in front of the sofa. So I say, right, I'll go to bed then. So I'll go to bed like 9 o'clock, and I find it's 11 o'clock. I'm wide awake. I've gone to sleep. I've slept for 2 hours. I am wide awake at 11 o'clock, and then I'm wide awake through till 5 a.m.
Well, you might think you are. Have you ever had that dream that you're lying in bed, awake, looking at the ceiling?
No.
I know this because I'm a married man. And I have had that where I've been lying in bed, awake, looking at the ceiling, and then my wife will nudge me and say, "Turn over, you're snoring." And I'll say, "But I'm awake." And she'll say, "No, you're not." So, yeah. Maybe you get more sleep than you realise.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned snoring because that's a lot of what today's episode is about. Well, not so much snoring, but strange otherworldly noises,
which describes my snoring, I think. So
which describes your snoring very well. Yeah.
Artfully done.
I do try. I do try. But yeah, so we are talking about the Mariana Trench, And of course, back in 2014, some divers, some scientists found these strange noises coming up. And in fact, let's have a listen to the noises now. So there you are. I mean, really strange sounding noises. I think there. I can give you some scientific information about the noises. They are lasting between. So the one we've heard is one of these sounds, and it was played on a loop. But these noises last between 2.5 and 3.5 seconds. It goes to frequencies as low as 38 hertz and can go as high in that sort of metallic end piece that can go as high as 8,000 hertz. So it's a really big range of sounds. It's certainly, to me, so this has been nicknamed the Western Pacific Biotwang.
But that's all within our audio range, isn't it? I mean, it says humans can hear sounds between 20 hertz and 20,000 hertz.
Yes,
so
yes,
it's at the low end of our range.
It is, but I mean, to me, it strikes me as quite a wide range. But perhaps in general. Of course, the things it's not. Then
is it the equivalent of being able to sing every note on the piano?
That's a very good question. That's something our listener can look up and perhaps let us know.
Any scientific musicians out there can tell us what that would be equivalent. How many octaves does that represent? That range of 38 to 8,000 hertz.
Indeed, and I mean, speaking of scientific musicians, our eagle-eared listeners will have noticed that actually I forgot to mention this in the introduction. We got all sidetracked, but of course we have a new theme tune now.
Yeah, very catchy.
Very exciting. Yeah. Well, it's atmospheric. I don't know if catchy is the right word, but it's certainly. I hope you like it, listeners. I can tell you, it is actually created by a very good friend of ours, Darren Mafucci. It's from his EP, "Searching for Monsters," and it is the title song with the same name. You can find his stuff by going to searchingformonsters.bandcamp.com. I'll put a link in the description for you. But yeah, so a big thank you to Darren for letting us use your music as our theme. It's quite an honour for us, and we like it. We think it's very fitting. Yeah, so coming back onto track with the Mariana Trench then. So what did you make of this sound, Neil, when you heard it?
It is a very odd sound. It's a metallic kind of sound, but I know that whales can make very odd sound. But even if it's not a whale, I mean, who knows what's down in the Mariana Trench? The Mariana Trench is something like 36,000 feet deep, or 10,000, well, just shy of 11,000 meters for our European listeners. So imagine how high an airliner flies in the sky when it's at its cruising height. So that's how far down below sea level the Mariana Trench goes. I know that we probably know less about what's at the bottom of the sea than what we know that's about what's in space. The difference is we know that there's life way down deep. It's not controversial to suggest that there are life forms down there that we've never encountered. Whereas when we look at the heavens, we think, well, there's so much of it. There are so many millions of galaxies, so many potentially habitable planets. Surely we haven't got all this to ourselves. It's that kind of, at the very least, even the most skeptical person with regards to UFOs and extraterrestrial beings has to concede that it's a vast amount of space. And are you really saying this is the only planet in all that, for the billions of planets, the only one that supports life?
But there are, I can tell you from personal experience, there are plenty of people who do think like that. You know, I mean, generally it tends towards the more religious people who say, well, no, God created this planet for us to use.
Well,
and that's it.
I know we've wandered into the field of religion before when we were asking about whether Jesus Christ was an extraterrestrial. But of course, at the time people were writing the Bible, they had no understanding of the vastness of space. They thought stars were fairy lights in the sky. They couldn't conceive of distances in light years. They couldn't conceive they thought the sun went round the earth because that's what it looks like. And Galileo, hundreds of years later, was imprisoned by the Spanish Inquisition for suggesting otherwise.
But actually, when you go back a couple or 3,000 years, there were plenty of civilizations that knew that we did go round the sun, and that they might not have perhaps had concepts about, you know, the edge of the universe like we do, but certainly astronomers were a thing, you know, going back thousands of years. So I think perhaps it's perhaps a disservice to just say, they thought it was like, you know, pinholes in the curtain of night or whatever. It's nice and fanciful to say that, but I think sort of ancient knowledge was better than what we think.
Yeah, you know? It's just a question of how widely it was known, that ancient knowledge.
That's absolutely, but that is going down a bit of a bit of a rabbit hole away from what we're talking about here today.
As you say, the suggestion of extraterrestrials does challenge the assertion that we are created in God's image and we are His chosen ones. And
it does for some, and I've known of other so we don't want to tar all religious people with the same brush. I've known of other very devout Christians who say, well, I can accept that God created us and created this other life as well. You know, so it's not all all Christians.
Not all Christians. No, let's go to generalize. As soon as you get to any generalisation, you're going down a rabbit hole, aren't you?
And we have definitely digressed well away from the topic here. So you're absolutely right in what you're saying, that that the Mariana Trench does contain a lot of unknown life. But the oceans in general, I mean, to say that it's what is it, 2/3 of the surface of the planet, we know a tiny fraction of them. It is the great unexplored, and looking at that in of itself, so you hear a lot of stories about potentially underwater UFO bases in ufology. You get UFO sightings coming in and out of the water, or quite often over the water. And we've certainly seen that in some of the episodes. Footage released by the Pentagon. You know, you've got strange tic-tac shaped aircraft flying over water at great speeds. Now, if so. I'm going to give you a hypothetical here. If extraterrestrials were to come to Earth and were going to establish a base, under the water is the perfect place to do it. If you want to remain hidden.
As long as you have the capability. I mean, if you're thinking of the technologies that we know, that we have, we don't have craft that can fly and also dive to the bottom of the ocean.
Well, no, but
and certainly not travel through space and then come and then enter our atmosphere and dive straight to the bottom of the ocean and stay there.
But that's I mean, if they can master interstellar travel, they're technologically way advanced from us anyway. But B, you're assuming that it would be the same vehicle. I mean, we have vehicles now that are almost like you remember Jerry Anderson's Thunderbirds, where you've got vehicles inside vehicles. So what's to stop a UFO coming along and depositing a submergible vehicle.
In fact, I'm old enough to remember Jerry Anderson's Stingray, where there's actually a civilization of these aqua people living at the bottom of the sea who create all kinds of, who swim around in giant tin fish and wreak all kinds of havoc.
Maybe they came from the stars, who knows. But yeah, so the feasibility of this in my mind is quite strong, that, you know, there could well be these extraterrestrials under the water already, and the idea that this Western Pacific biotwang, this strange sound that's been recorded from the Mariana Trench, it certainly sounds artificial to me. Did it not to you?
What I know about whales, I once went whale watching in New Zealand in my youth, and we went out in this boat.
I'll just interject before you tell this story. So you've mentioned whales a couple of times. Is there a particular reason you're mentioning whales?
Yes. I read an article where this sound we're talking about, which was dubbed the Western Pacific biotwang, a lot of scientists are suggesting it could be from a kind of minke whale, which has baffled scientists before with its strange noises. So I'm trying to think.
Okay. Well, all right. No, it's just the fact you'd mentioned whales a couple of times. I was trying to understand sort of why. What the connection was. Okay, I'll address that in just a moment. But carry on with your story then, please.
Yes. So the minke whale has had some past form in creating strange noises in somewhere else, which I can't quite find, but it baffled scientists for a while, and then they realised it was a call of these minke whales. What's unusual about the Mariana Trench sounds is that at first they thought it would be a mating call, but it seems to be a year-round thing, where it happens way out of mating season, so perhaps it's another kind of communication. But as I say, I went out on this thing about whales. I went out on this boat to whale watch, and we had a depth gauge, a digital depth gauge in the passenger area where we could see how deep the water was, and it went from sort of, you know, the usual kind of depth going slowly up to, you know, 100 feet deep, and then suddenly it plunged and it was 3 miles deep. This shelf that we went over, and we found these sperm whales, and what we'd learned about them was that they hunt and they eat octopus and they eat sharks and they eat all sorts of other things, and the way they hunt is with a sonic blast. This whale sound they can release, it can travel huge distances, and it can actually stun creatures. It can stun a shark enough that the whale could just then swim over and eat it at its leisure. So they have a very powerful underwater sound.
It's incredible. I mean, it's the sort of thing you see in the in the comic books, and, you know, the superhero powers.
I'll blast you with my sonic
blast.
and knock you out. You know, suddenly your whole world just starts shaking, and
and then you get eaten.
Before you know what's happened. So
I know that sort of whale song can be very strange, and I'm not familiar with all different types of whale song. I've heard I haven't heard it mentioned about the minke whales, but I have heard mentioned that this might be sounds made by baleen whales, which are a different type again. I'm
not sure they are different kind. The minke whale is a type of baleen whale.
Oh, right,
according to livescience.com.
Right. I mean, I'm holding my hands where I am no expert on whales at all. Or the Welsh, for that matter. No, that's a joke.
But for our Welsh, especially for our Welsh listeners. It says in the article, because of the call's complex structure, frequencies, and metallic sounding conclusion, the researchers think that it most closely resembles the regionally specific calls that are produced by a group of dwarf minke whales off the northern coast of Australia, and those calls apparently sound a bit like Star Wars sound effects.
Okay, that'll be an interesting one to
apparently
go and listen to.
Several types of minke whales in the survey area, but not much is known about their behaviour or their vocal behaviour.
Okay, and do you know what? There's a part of me that can accept that it might be something like that, but where I get a little frustrated, and it is when you see these articles, and literally, so in doing research on this for this, I obviously went to Google. Other search engines are available, and I put in the Mariana Trench strange sounds, and instantly I'm getting all these articles coming up, instantly saying scientists have solved the mystery, scientists have determined what it really is. And you look into it, you scratch the surface below the headline, and it's no, they haven't. They think they have. They think it might possibly be this, or it sounds similar to this other thing. So actually, no, it's a load of crap. They haven't solved it at all. They just think they might have an answer.
I know how journalism works, where you can write the article and then it's the sub-editor who creates the title. So no, we can't have scientists think they might have solved something. It's, massive breakthrough, scientific breakthrough has got to be the headline to get people to read and say, oh, actually, it's not much of a breakthrough, really. It's just
Exactly, and you end up with another basically Doug and Dave from the crop circle world situation where someone says, oh, here's an answer, and the journalist posts it and say, oh, that's it, case closed, it's all solved, let's go home. Well, that's not the case here. It's not solved. We don't have an answer to it, and I appreciate, given how deep this thing is, which the Mariana Trench, I know you gave the it's a size of an aircraft flying. The example that I've got is that it's almost as almost as deep as Mount Everest is high. I mean, it's an insane depth. But it's also interesting to and this, I think, the fact it is teeming with life, which we're absolutely certain of, shows that life can evolve under the most extreme of conditions, which again supports this idea that there is life on other planets.
Oh, because I mean, they found life in superheated water near a volcano, haven't they?
Exactly. So the fact it has to have all these conditions that make up us. Well, no, if you want human beings, you have to have those conditions. If you want something different, you have different conditions. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, but in terms of when we're talking about monsters, or talking in the modern age, we talk about extraterrestrials. But in hundreds of years ago, they believed in sea monsters. They certainly believed in the Kraken, and that hasn't really been disproved. This idea that there's a giant octopus that occasionally will come up and take a ship down.
But there was a whale that was sadly it was washed ashore and it was dead. There were scars along its body from a giant. They think it was perhaps a giant jellyfish. That would have been as much bigger than the whale.
Yeah. So, I heard sucker ring marks the size of dustbin lids.
Yeah, so these monster-sized creatures, definitely exist. We just haven't. But it comes back to the whole, the oceans are so widely unexplored, which makes them an ideal place for a UFO base. As I say, that's my thinking on that. So yes, I can see what you're saying that about the whales thing. That there are some similarities, but given the diversity of life on the planet, and particularly in the oceans, I think any artificial sound, you're going to find a similarity to it somewhere. There are birds whose song sounds exactly like a ringing telephone, for example.
Well, there are. Is it cockatoos who can mimic a telephone?
Oh, there's mimicking as one
or
thing,
a car
but no,
alarm,
I'm saying naturally, they sound similar. So So there's that, but perhaps I'm arguing against my own point by pointing that out.
We know that deep in our oceans there are some very strange creatures adapted to live at depths where there's no light,
indeed,
and enormous pressure, and intense cold. But they're adapted to
intense heat as well. And you look at something like the tardigrade, which is I believe it's the smallest animal known to exist. It's microscopic, but it is an actual animal. That can exist in pretty much any condition whatsoever. I think that might be the answer to us sort of surviving, like curing cancers and surviving is from this tardigrade. I fascinating stuff.
A popular toy with American children, or a popular thing, was what they call sea monkeys, which are basically shrimps, but they arrive in freeze-dried form.
Brine shrimp, aren't they?
Sorry? Brine
shrimp, I believe.
I think so, yeah. But basically you put them in a tank and they come to life and grow. I mean, these creatures are capable of space travel because they can be freeze-dried.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember, so growing up, my parents had some pet shops. And we used to sell it as live food for fish.
Sea monkeys.
Yeah, well, we didn't call them sea monkey. We just called it brine shrimp. But brine shrimp and bloodworm. They're sold in packets. But still alive. Right, on that macabre note, let's summarise. But I tell you what, before we summarise, let's just listen to this sound again. So it certainly sounds to me to be. It's a very strange sound. But what's your take on it? Do you just think it's whales then, and that's it?
Well, I thought of you when I read the article which said that the calls sound a bit like Star Wars sound effects. Because I know what a fan you are.
But just to be clear, I'm a Trekkie, which is not to be mistaken for a Star Wars fan.
Yeah,
I like Star Wars.
I know you like Star Wars too. So, I think there's so much down there that we know it's there, but we have limited resources for exploring it. So much that is part of our natural world and is terrestrial in origin, that I think we have to go a long way before we start ascribing extraterrestrial argument. I can see your argument that it's the perfect place to hide a UFO, the perfect place to hide anything at the bottom of the ocean. The mafia hide their bodies at the bottom of the ocean, don't they? So it's not without precedent.
Yeah.
So I'm on this. I'm inclined to. I haven't seen enough to make me think, oh well, but that doesn't answer this or that doesn't answer that question. I'm going with some strange creature down there that we haven't encountered yet.
Well, stop all the clocks, cancel the internet, because do you know what? We agree, and I think we agree entirely. I think, as you point out, yes, I'm going to fervently argue that underwater is a fantastic place for UFO, and I don't want to rule that out in this case. But as you rightly say, there are so many strange creatures that make sounds that could easily be replicated in this way, or certainly we know of enough creatures that sound similar enough that it's not beyond the realms of possibility, and there is so many creatures we haven't encountered yet that I'm inclined to say that that's the most likely answer in this case.
So stingray rather than UFO. To go back to Jerry Anderson.
Yeah, or to pull in a Star Trek reference, you've got the whale song from The Voyage Home, Star Trek 4. But yeah, so that's it. We agree wholeheartedly on this one particular thing.
Blimey, this is a first. This is a first, listeners. This has never happened before.
It's a monumentous episode.
If this is the first one you've listened to, you need to go back and listen to all the rest, because this has never happened.
Absolutely. But what do you think, listeners? Have we got it completely and utterly wrong? Is there something we've missed about this sound that rules out the possibility of an existing life form from this planet? Or do you agree with both of us on this instance, and that it's nothing? I mean, it's still spectacular, the array of life we get on this planet. So yeah, but is it? I don't want to use the word mundane in this case,
No.
But is it something more earthbound in this instance? Do let us know what you think by the usual methods, by Twitter, by Facebook. And you can find us on aliensexplored.com as well. And do let us know what you think of our new theme tune as well. We absolutely love it. But yeah, do let us know what you think.
And we'll pass your comments directly back to Darren.
Absolutely, we'll tell him.
Well,
exactly
the positive
what
ones. He's sensitive. Isn't he?
We're all sensitive, us creatives, but no. Do let us know what you think. And if you can spare a moment as well to leave us a review on your podcasting service, that would be fantastic and very much appreciated, and will help other people to find this podcast in the future. So you'd be doing us a massive service there as well. Don't forget to join us next time, when we'll be looking at some of the pieces of information released by the CIA to the Black Vault. So don't miss that one. In the meantime, keep watching those seas. And the skies.
And the skies as well,
Yeah.
I did listen to a podcast called It Came From Outer Space and Also From the Bottom of the Ocean. So this...
There you go. What is this? A crossover episode? There you go. But in the meantime, we will see you next time. But for now, let's have another listen to that theme tune. Take care for now. Bye.
Bye.
Aliens Explored is a Figo Films production in association with Juicy Falls. Music by Darren Mafucci and editing by Stu Jackson. Find us on Twitter and Facebook by searching Aliens Explored, or visit aliensexplored.com.